Hello, and welcome to the 26th episode of This Week in Mappercraft. Getting back on time, hopefully. I had some computer issues this weekend, so it's still a little bit late. Last week was June 21st to the 27th, and we'll be covering the years of 2015, 2017, 2019, 2022, and 2025. As always, all information here can be found on the Mappercraft wiki, which is linked in the description, along with the server itself. Let's get into the years. First up, in 2015, the server was running Earth World 1, hosted by Monsoon Jr. In 2017, the server was running Earth World 6, hosted by Xenodyne. In 2019, the server was running Earth World 7, also hosted by Xenodyne. In 2022, the server was running Earth World Redux, hosted by Top. And finally, in 2025, last year, the server was running Brave New World Revisited, hosted by me, MintyMichael. Let's get into it. First up, we have 3 events from June 21st to the 27th, 2015. On the 21st, the Gaelic terror attacks occurred when an unknown player griefed the HH Kingdom and Livonis heavily. They were suspected to be of Gaelic origin of that nation, although no proof was ever offered. According to the quote, Vask was spared as it is surrounded by a forest, and most players did not know where it was. Also on the 21st, the Praetorian Capitol building began construction in Vask. According to the quote, FedEx and TL oversaw the construction. Apparently the leader of the nation, Batran, failed to make an appearance, worrying some. The next day, on the 22nd, the city of Leptis Magna was founded in North Africa. It was founded by the player Lolistan, according to the quote. The purpose of the settlement was to mine sand and some other materials. But that marks the end for this week in 2015. Next up, we have 4 events from June 21st to the 27th, 2017 during Earth World 6. First, on the 22nd, the server apparently went down. Unclear why, but it was definitely up for the next day. Although you can see the little quote here. But on the next day, the 23rd, the St. Petersburg crisis occurred when Bonito Pib, ruler of Russia under Araga, claimed Siberia and Japan. The Aragon parliament responded by voting to unclaim the areas, but Pib ignored that decision. Thus, Tomad kicked Russia out of the nation and moved to occupy St. Petersburg and other Russian outposts. According to the quote, Tomad, Extra, and Pib eventually made several agreements to downscale and finally end the crisis. Also on the 23rd, the Peruvian exchange occurred when a new player wanted to settle the area of Peru. However, Sikorsky of the PAU said that they would need to join the nation to settle there, as the PAU claimed that area. The new player, Fish, was backed by Araga, starting arguments between the PAU and Aragon diplomats. According to the quote, Sikorsky and Starro represented the PAU, while Extra, Agnias, and Scully represented Araga and Fish. Eventually, the land was sold to the new player, Fish, with the promise that Araga would not attempt to vassalize the new nation, an agreement which was honored. Later in the week, on the 25th, the Agnias incident occurred when Agnias and Astif got into an argument. The argument apparently began when Agnias had asked another player, Bullseye Games, to get him quartz. After supplying 8 stacks, Agnias apparently said that he needed 10 times that amount, which is a lot. According to the quote, this is the point at which Astif intervened. It's unclear how the dispute ended, but it definitely soured relations between the two players in Araga. But that marks the end of this week for 2017. Next up, we have a single event from June 21st to the 27th, 2019 during Earth World 7. It was on the 22nd when the world ended officially. Most of Earth World 7 was pretty uneventful. The world was dominated by a Cold War between Araga and the PAU, which caused both sides to generally avoid playing for fear of war. Thus, according to the wiki, the world was officially ended on June 22nd, 2019. This was the last world that Xenodyne hosted, and it caused the server to be a bit dormant until 2020. But that's the only event in 2019. So, moving on. Next up, we have a handful of events from June 21st to the 27th, 2022 during Earth World Redux. First, on the 21st, Walt Disney's World Resort was formed out of a merger between Disney, led by Pusillanimous, and Kayuri, led by Irish Child. Here's the quote. Definitely a surprise since they had some disputes in the past, but it's always nice to see sort of friends make up and unite with each other. Next, on the 24th, the Canadian War kicked off when a coalition of Bogsu, Ukraine, and Kursk declared war on the Canadian islands due to the actions of their leader, Lasity. The war was hard fought, with griefing on all sides, but Canada capitulated after a few hours. After negotiations, a peace treaty was signed between all players, which, according to the quote, forced Canada to be jointly occupied by Bogsu, Ukraine, and Kursk. The former leader, Lasity, was banished from the territory. Following that, on the 26th, the Mariupol revisions were accepted as a diplomatic agreement between Cyprus and Ukraine. According to the quote, the primary reason and cause for the agreement was a sort of trade war between the two powers, and with the agreement, trade resumed between the two. Also on the 26th, the Charleston Agreement was signed, ending a period of hostility between the nations of South Carolina and Bogsu. According to the quote, South Carolina ceded the port city of Charleston, hence the name, to end the conflict. But that marks the end for this week in 2022. And finally, for our last year, we have 4 events from June 21st to the 27th, 2025, last year, during Brave New World Revisited. First, on the 22nd, a proposal for a World Trade Center located in Havana, Cuba, was presented internationally by Cat Miles, the leader of Cuba. According to the quote, this would have acted as a global market and a place for all nations to sell goods. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. I think the building was built, but the world didn't really rally around the market the way that Cat Miles had hoped. Next, on the 27th, the liberation of Victoria occurred when the Earldom of Sarenmark declared war on Ohlone with the goal of freeing the city of Victoria from their rule. According to the quote, the war ended in a Sarenmark victory, as the city of Victoria seceded from Ohlone and later went on to join Sarenmark officially. Additionally, Ohlone was made into a vassal state of the Earldom of Sarenmark, representing a major shift in the power structure on the west coast in Sarenmark's favor. Also on the 27th, the Second Pueblo Pirate War kicked off when the pirates invaded. According to the quote, the pirates quickly won and annexed the capital Port Tampa, disbanding Little Heart Attack's nation in response to the First Pueblo Pirates War, which ended in a white peace. And finally, for the last event on the 27th, and the last event for the week, the Nether opened, giving people access to more resources and more stuff. According to the quote, Homeless Prophet was the first player to enter the new dimension. But that's it for 2025. And this marks the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and check out the server at the link in the description. As always, if you have any additional information about any of these events, leave a comment down below, or go ahead and add it to the Mappercraft wiki. See you next week for June 28th to July 4th.